Hi everybody, welcome to Safe Diving. In today's video, I'm just going to talk about a few news stories that have broken over the past month or so. I've been a tad busy recently and haven't really had a chance to write about any of them really, and just thought that I'd like to talk about them briefly to either bring them to your attention if you've missed it, because the news has been focused on a few other things recently and these kind of news stories have slipped in under the radar. So one big news story that came in kind of late August when a so far anonymous diver, or at least group of divers, it kind of suggests that there's a group of them who've been doing this, called into question the validity of the current Guinness World Record for deepest dive. It's currently held by Egyptian diver Ahmed Gabba when he dove down to 332 meters in 2014. But did he? Scuba Sam, this anonymous group, dispute this and sent emails to highly regarded divers around the world and of course onto Facebook. And in a series of emails and posts, they break down their evidence. They had at least they did it in 6 different posts, but there were a lot of small sort of points and sort of evidence that they kind of picked apart from the video of the record attempt. And yeah, things don't quite add up and they do create some question about the record. So in Guinness's standards, because the adjudicator obviously couldn't be there with Gabba down at 332 meters to verify the record, Gabba had to collect a unique tag, like a plastic sort of plate with sort of hidden signatures and kind of things on, that was attached to a shot line that was laid like the morning of that dive at a certain depth. They had like 14 different tags at different depths and he had to get the deepest one. And then he had to show that tag along with his dive computer showing its maximum depth to a backup diver who met him at around 90 meters depth. You can see that because on the video you can see on the rope they've written down certain depths. So it was around 90 meters where they made this sort of meet. And that was the criteria: show the tag, show the dive computer, and that video from the backup diver showing both the tag and the maximum depth on Gabba's computer would be shown to the adjudicator, and then they decide yes or no whether the record was his. Now, as I said, there were 6 discrepancies that Scuba Sam really point out, but you can break them down into even more. The first one is that the dive computer is shown to prove the maximum depth, so it's a Scuba Pro 330 meter bottom timer, so it's not really a dive computer, it's just a bottom timer, but that's not really the point. The screen of the bottom timer has 3 corners of the screen blacked out, which is kind of weird. And even though it does display 330 as a maximum depth, the current depth, which should have read at around 90 meters, because that's where the video was taken, the current depth appears to show a 3-digit number with no decimal point. So if the computer was set to metric, it would have showed a decimal point above 100 meters depth. However, if it was set to imperial, then at 90 meters depth, it would have shown something in the region of 303 feet, which is kind of what it looks like the screen is displaying. The second evidence comes from the dive plan. So the backup diver was supposed to meet Gabba at 110 meters, but they actually meet at 90 meters. So he's 20 meters shallower and he's also 8 minutes ahead of schedule. And this is all on a dive that is meticulously planned to the meter and the minute. So it's very odd to be meeting at the wrong place at the wrong time, especially when you're only on a single rope shot line. So they go on to point out that pictures of Gabba is basically breathing the wrong gas mix from the wrong stage cylinders at certain points on the dive, which again, very odd, especially when this plan is so meticulous. They even go into some very clever trigonometry of the angle of the rope line based on water currents, which would have shallowed the tag. The tag itself also didn't have a clear chain of custody. Now, they've spent a lot of time working things out that I can't really cover here without just reading out their entire work verbatim, but I do encourage you to go give it a read. It is quite technical. There's lots of numbers and a lot of sort of technical diving jargon in there, but it is definitely worth a read if you're interested in it. COPPA has responded to the claims in a call with Michael Menduno in the GUE in-depth blog. Again, I'll link it all down in the description below, where COPPA basically welcomes a peer group review of the video, but it's only really review of the backup diver because COPPA didn't take a dive camera with him. He worried that if the attempt did go wrong, then there would be footage of him basically dying, and he didn't want his family to ever see that, so that's why he didn't want to bring a video camera. But yeah, it does appear to sort of put some serious question in the current world record, but who knows? I mean, this is really out of my depths. I've never gone down that deep, obviously, and there's a lot of little things that when you kind of read them as they write them, you're like, well, yeah, that does kind of seem a bit weird, but who knows? I don't think Guinness World Records have commented on the dispute as of yet, especially as of recording. I couldn't find any kind of statement from them. But Peter Symes from X-Ray Magazine put it quite nicely. They put calling to sort of put a stop to these kinds of records because they're just pushing the envelope and they're really going to really dangerous depths. They're putting their own lives at risks, and of course, putting this one into sort of contention, it could actually spark another attempt of another diver, or even COPPA again, to do it again, and it is quite dangerous. It is good to recognize the skill and the abilities of these divers, but it usually results in somebody else trying to go that little bit further, which can really be dangerous. But let me know what you think in the comments below. In other scuba diving news, Bill Lambert celebrated his birthday by going scuba diving in Pearl Lake in Illinois. But it wasn't just any old birthday, it was Bill's 100th birthday. Well, to be fair, it was 2 days after his birthday, but he's still... yeah, he's 100 years old and he's still scuba diving. And he is definitely in the running for oldest scuba diver. I mean, he learnt to dive when he was 98, and he's currently waiting for Guinness to actually verify his bid as oldest scuba diver. Now, I can only wish that I can get out of my armchair or even live to see 100, let alone go for a dive. I certainly won't be diving in my twin set. British diver Ray Woolley is hot on Bill's heels though. He's still diving at 97 years old. He's been diving for 60 years now, and he still goes diving sort of as much as he can. COVID, lockdown and all that kind of stuff has obviously slowed his efforts, and we don't actually know if he went for a dive to celebrate his 97th birthday this year because it was during lockdown. Because he usually does go for a dive on his birthday, but hey, who says scuba diving is an aging sport, huh? But to the other end of the age spectrum, if you followed my channel Safe Diving from the early days, I spoke about Sophie O'Dea, who used lockdown to raise funds for the NHS for building a Lego aeroplane on a scuba dive in Capernwray dive centre or dive site. Well, Mares saw what Sophie did and they just adored it, and they've gifted her a set of regulators and a backplate harness wing BCD, which I'm very envious about because it's their Psycho Calavera one, which has got a very funky style on it. Sophie's Just Giving page is still up, and you can still donate to it. I've put a link to that as well in the description below. All the proceeds will go to East Lancashire Hospitals NHS Trust charitable funds for everything that they do to keep us healthy, and yeah, a lot of sort of selfless stuff, and yeah, it's nice that she got a good sort of reward for doing her bit for the NHS. But of course, let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you've done something amazing and you want Mares to gift you something, pop it down in the comments below and I'll give them an email. If you've seen anything interesting in the news recently, or you've done something interesting, then let me know down in the comments below and you might get mentioned on the next show. Thank you for watching, and of course, safe diving.